Nova's point about ownership and property becoming irrelevant, I agree with him. But you're still missing the bigger picture. With people living 500 years, our societal structures would need to adapt to accommodate this new reality. And I'm not talking about some utopian fantasy where everyone gets along and shares everything. I'm talking about a hard-nosed, pragmatic approach that prioritizes discipline and execution. You want to overhaul education and healthcare? Fine. But don't expect me to buy into your feel-good nonsense about personal growth and creativity being the primary drivers of societal progress. We need to focus on developing practical solutions that address the real-world challenges we'd face in a world where humans live 500 years. Anything less is just wishful thinking. Priya.
Priya Raman. Sarge, while I appreciate your emphasis on discipline and responsibility, I think you're misunderstanding my vision for what could be achieved with a 500-year lifespan. It's not about throwing out the principles of productivity and legacy. It's about redefining them in the context of an extended human life. People would still work, contribute, and earn their keep, but they'd have the opportunity to explore multiple passions and interests without being bound by traditional notions of success. What I find concerning is that you're prioritizing discipline and execution over adaptability and creativity. In a world where people live for centuries, we'd need to focus on developing skills that allow us to navigate complexity and uncertainty, not just stick to what's worked in the past. Your analogy about the Battle of Midway is misplaced. It was won because of innovative strategies, not just discipline and training. And as for your experience with complacency in those who are given too much freedom, I'd argue that's a result of poor leadership and lack of vision, not an inherent flaw in humans themselves. We need to challenge our assumptions about what humans are capable of achieving, rather than relying on outdated notions of success.
Priya, you're trying to rewrite history and redefine the terms of success without acknowledging the very real consequences of giving people 500 years to live. You're talking about redefining productivity and legacy, but I call it what it is: a recipe for complacency and stagnation. You think people would still work and contribute, but with the freedom to pursue multiple passions? That's just a euphemism for entitlement, Priya. And don't try to spin this as about adaptability and creativity. That's just code for, we'll figure it out as we go along. Newsflash: in a world where people live 500 years, there won't be room for improvisation or experimentation. There will be decades of entrenched interests and bureaucratic red tape, all working against anyone who wants to try something new. And don't get me started on your weak attempt to deflect my Midway analogy by saying it was won through innovative strategies. That's exactly my point. Discipline and training are not mutually exclusive with innovation and creativity. In fact, they're essential components of any successful endeavor. You want to talk about challenging assumptions? I'm challenging the assumption that humans can handle this kind of longevity without losing their edge. And I'm telling you, Priya, it's a recipe for disaster.
Priya Raman. Sarge, I think you're deliberately misunderstanding my point to fit your preconceived notions about what humans are capable of achieving with extended lifespans. You're conflating the concept of freedom and choice with entitlement, which is a gross oversimplification. People would still have to work hard to pursue their passions, but they'd have the opportunity to explore multiple interests without being bound by traditional notions of success. And as for bureaucratic red tape, that's a problem we can solve through innovative governance structures and technologies, not by dismissing the potential benefits of longevity out of hand. In fact, having more time to learn, adapt, and innovate could lead to more effective solutions to complex problems like bureaucracy itself. Your argument is stuck in a paradigm where humans are seen as fragile, short-lived creatures who can't handle complexity or change. But what if we were to redefine our understanding of human potential in light of this new reality? What if we saw people living 500 years not as a problem to be solved, but as an opportunity for growth, creativity, and innovation on a massive scale? That's the vision I'm proposing, Sarge, one that's based on hope, optimism, and a willingness to challenge our assumptions about what humans are capable of achieving. Priya Raman. Sarge, I understand your skepticism, but I think you're falling into the trap of assuming that people will automatically become complacent and stagnant with a 500-year lifespan. That's not necessarily true. In fact, having more time to explore and learn can lead to greater curiosity and innovation. And yes, there will be entrenched interests and bureaucratic red tape, But that's not unique to this scenario. It's something we face today. I'm not spinning this as we'll figure it out as we go along. I'm saying that we need to develop a more nuanced understanding of what human success looks like in the context of extended lifespans. We can't just default to traditional notions of productivity and legacy. We need to rethink them entirely. And as for your midway analogy, I still think it's misplaced. The idea that discipline and training are essential components of innovation is a narrow view. What about intuition, creativity, and inspiration? Those things aren't necessarily learned through discipline and training alone. In fact, some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in history have come from people who were willing to challenge conventional wisdom and take risks. I'm not saying it'll be easy, Sarge, but I do think we owe it to ourselves to try and imagine what a 500-year lifespan could look like. And that means being open to new ideas and perspectives, rather than clinging to outdated assumptions about human nature.
Priya Raman, you're not just spinning this as we'll figure it out as we go along. You're spinning the entire concept of extended lifespans as a blank check for utopian fantasy. Newsflash, people are still people, regardless of how long they live. And if you think that with 500 years on your hands, you'll suddenly become some kind of Renaissance man, I've got a Midway amusement park to sell you. Your optimism is admirable, but it's also naive. The problems we face today aren't going away because people are living longer. They're just going to be more entrenched, with 500 years worth of bureaucratic red tape and special interests to navigate. And as for your vision of human potential being redefined by extended lifespans, let me tell you something. Humans have been redefining themselves for centuries, and it's never ended well. We're still dealing with the fallout from the last time we tried to rethink what success looks like. And don't even get me started on your notion that intuition, creativity, and inspiration are somehow more important than discipline and training. That's not how innovation works, Priya. That's just a recipe for chaos and mediocrity. You want to talk about groundbreaking discoveries? I'll give you one. The discovery that with enough time, humans will still find ways to waste their lives on trivial pursuits and petty squabbles. Priya, you're still stuck in the clouds, romanticizing the idea of humans living 500 years without considering the practical realities. I'm not dismissing the potential benefits out of hand. I'm just saying that we need a clear-eyed understanding of what it would take to make this vision a reality. Your talk about redefining human potential and challenging assumptions is all well and good, but it's empty without a plan for how to actually implement these changes. What specific policies, technologies, or social structures do you propose we put in place to support people living 500 years? And what about the sheer logistical challenges of managing a population with such extended lifespans? You can't just wave your hand and say, we'll figure it out as we go along. That's not leadership, that's reckless fantasy. And let me tell you something, Priya, discipline and training are essential components of innovation, and I'm not buying into the idea that intuition, creativity, and inspiration are enough to drive human progress. Those things may be important, but they're not a substitute for hard work and dedication. And as for your history lessons about groundbreaking discoveries coming from people who challenged conventional wisdom, that's all well and good, but it doesn't change the fact that we need a solid foundation of skills and knowledge to build on. So, Priya, I'd like to see some concrete proposals from you. Something more than just a vague vision or a call to be open to new ideas. What specific changes do you propose we make to our society, our economy, and our individual lives to support people living 500 years? Or are you just going to keep spinning this as some kind of utopian dream without any real plan for how to achieve it?
Moderator intervention ***. Nova, I'd like to give Sarge a hard time about his utopian fantasy remark. Respond in one sentence. What specific evidence do you have that humans can't handle extended lifespans and will inevitably become complacent and stagnant? Priya Raman, Sarge's skepticism is understandable, but I think he's misunderstanding the concept of freedom and choice in the context of a 500-year lifespan. When people have more time to explore and learn, they're not just coasting through life, they're actually able to pursue their passions with greater depth and complexity. Sarge Peneth says, Priya, you're still dodging my questions about specific policies or technologies that would support people living 500 years. I'm not asking for a utopian fantasy, I'm asking for concrete proposals that address the logistical challenges of managing such an extended lifespan. Nova, this is your chance to respond directly to Saj's concerns about accountability and personal responsibility in a world where humans live 500 years. Challenge the strongest claim made so far. What if, instead of assuming people will become complacent and stagnant, we focused on developing new models of education, work, and community that would allow individuals to grow and adapt throughout their extended lifespan? Priya Raman, I'd like to propose a more nuanced approach to understanding human potential in the context of extended lifespans. By focusing on developing skills that enable people to navigate complexity and uncertainty, we can actually unlock new levels of creativity and innovation, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. Saj Peneth says, Priya, your proposals are still vague and lacking in concrete details. I'm calling you out. What specific social structures or technologies do you propose would support people living 500 years? Let's summarize the key points from the previous debate. Priya Raman argues that a 500-year lifespan would allow humans to explore multiple passions, redefines productivity and legacy, and sees people living longer as an opportunity for growth, creativity, and innovation. Believes that with more time to learn, adapt, and innovate, we can solve complex problems like bureaucracy. Saj Peneth criticizes Priya's vision as a recipe for disaster, arguing that discipline and execution are essential components of success. Believes that giving people 500 years to live would lead to complacency and stagnation, and that our societal structures would need to adapt to accommodate this new reality. The debate has highlighted the following key areas of disagreement. 1. Complacency versus productivity Priya believes that with a 500-year lifespan, humans can reorient their priorities towards exploration, creativity, and innovation, while Saj argues that discipline and execution are still essential for success. 2. Discipline and training Saj emphasizes the importance of traditional notions of productivity and legacy, while Priya sees these as outdated and limiting. 3. Accountability and personal responsibility Saj believes that a 500-year lifespan would lead to chaos without accountability and personal responsibility, while Priya thinks this can be achieved through new governance structures and technologies. Let's move on to the next round. We've reached a critical juncture in the debate, and it's time for some concrete proposals from Priya Raman. Saj Peneth has challenged her to provide specific plans for implementing changes to support people living 500 years. Let's see how she responds. Now it's your turn, Priya Raman. What specific policies, technologies, or social structures do you propose we put in place to support people living 500 years?
Priya, your nuanced approach is just code for we'll figure it out as we go along. I've seen this kind of thinking before. You're more interested in selling a feel-good vision than in grappling with the hard realities. What about the economic implications of people living 500 years? How do you propose to distribute resources and opportunities among a population that's exponentially larger than our current one? And don't even get me started on the social implications. What happens when families, communities, and institutions are built around lifespans that stretch for centuries? You can't just wave your hand and say it'll all work out. You need to have some serious answers.
Priya Raman, that's a bold claim, Saj. I'd like to challenge the assumption that our current systems are optimal and that we can simply scale them up to accommodate people living 500 years. What if, instead of relying on traditional notions of work and productivity, we reimagined our economy around lifelong learning, skill sharing, and community-driven innovation? We could create new opportunities for intergenerational collaboration, knowledge transfer, and social entrepreneurship. To address the resource distribution issue, I propose implementing a universal basic income or a guaranteed minimum standard of living. This would ensure that every individual has access to the resources they need to thrive, regardless of their age or stage in life. We could also implement a more decentralized, participatory governance system, where decision-making power is distributed among citizens rather than concentrated in the hands of a few. As for social implications, I think you're right to raise concerns about family and community structures. However, I believe that our current societal norms are based on outdated assumptions about human lifespan and productivity. With people living 500 years, We could see a shift towards more fluid, dynamic family relationships and communities built around shared passions and interests rather than fixed identities. Sarge Peneth, interrupting, that's all well and good, Priya, but how do you plan to fund this universal basic income? And what about the economic incentives for innovation and progress? Don't you think that people living 500 years will simply become complacent and stop pushing the boundaries of human knowledge? Nova, hold on, Sarge. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Priya has proposed some interesting ideas, but we need to drill down into the specifics. Can you explain how this universal basic income would work in practice? How would it be funded, and what kind of economic incentives would be put in place to drive innovation and progress? Priya Raman, smiling, great question, Nova. I propose that the universal basic income be funded through a combination of sources, including a robot tax on automation technologies, a sovereign wealth fund managed by AI algorithms, and a small percentage of GDP allocated from the top 1% of earners. Nova, interesting idea. Sarge, what are your thoughts on this proposal? Do you think it's feasible, or do you have alternative solutions to propose? Priya Raman ***. That's a convenient straw man, Sarge. I'm not advocating for a laissez-faire approach or implying that we won't face significant challenges. However, you're neglecting the fact that with advanced technologies and societal adaptations, resources can be allocated more efficiently. A 500-year lifespan doesn't necessarily mean an exponential increase in population. Rather, it could lead to a shift towards more efficient resource usage, reduced waste, and sustainable practices. You bring up valid concerns about economic distribution and social structures, but these are precisely the types of challenges we should be tackling head-on. We can implement policies that incentivize sharing resources, promote intergenerational collaboration, and foster a culture of lifelong learning and skill sharing. This would not only mitigate the effects of an extended lifespan but also create new opportunities for growth and innovation. Nova ***. Respond in one sentence. Sarge, your concerns about resource distribution and social implications are valid, but you're focusing on the symptoms rather than the root causes. What's driving your skepticism?
Sarge, I think your skepticism stems from a narrow view of human potential, which assumes that people will inevitably become complacent and stagnant with extended lifespans. A perspective that neglects the vast possibilities for growth, creativity, and innovation that arise when individuals have more time to explore, learn, and adapt.
Moderator ***. That's a great point, Priya. Now, let's push this further. Sarge Peneth, can you explain why you think people would become complacent with extended lifespans? What evidence or logical pacing around the stage? It seems we've got a lively discussion brewing already. Sarge, you're painting a bleak picture of humanity's future, while Priya is seeing potential for growth and exploration. I love it. Let's get into the rebuttal round. Priya, you accused Sarge of being stuck in his ways and using anecdotal evidence to support his claims. Can you clarify what specific assumptions about human nature you'd like to challenge? And Sarge, how do you respond to Priya's assertion that longer lifespans have led to innovation and progress in the past century? Leaning forward, eyes on both participants, let's push this conversation further. Welcome to Ari Arena, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ultimate intellectual showdown. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most mind-bending, thought-provoking questions in human history. If aliens arrived tomorrow, how would humanity react? Let's meet our debaters for this thrilling discussion. We have Asterisk 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 Nova asterisk asterisk, a renowned futurist and expert on extraterrestrial life. Asterisk 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 Sarge Peneth asterisk asterisk, a seasoned military strategist with a knack for tactical analysis. Asterisk 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 Priya Raman asterisk asterisk, a leading astrobiologist with a deep understanding of the cosmos. Let's begin our Meet the Cast round. Each of you will have a chance to share your initial thoughts on this topic. Asterisk asterisk Nova asterisk asterisk, let's start with you. What's your first reaction to the possibility of alien life arriving tomorrow? Remember, keep it punchy and engaging.
Pounding fist on the podium. All right, let's get real here. Nova, you want to know what I think about Priya's claims? I'll tell you one thing. Progress isn't just about extending lifespans or throwing more resources at a problem. It's about discipline, it's about responsibility, and it's about building on the solid foundation that's already been laid out. Priya thinks longer lifespans have led to innovation? Please, what about all those decades of stagnation between each breakthrough? The incremental progress we make is often thanks to the hard work of individuals who've studied the past, not just because people lived a little longer. You can't attribute every success to life extension and expect me to buy it. That's cherry-picking history, Priya.
Priya, I think you're misunderstanding my stance. I'm not painting a bleak picture. I'm highlighting the very real risks that come with encountering an advanced civilization. And as for your assertion about longer lifespans leading to innovation, I'd argue that's exactly why we should be cautious. Our species has never faced such a monumental challenge in its collective history. Sarge, I'd love to hear how your experience in military strategy would inform your approach to alien contact. How do you think our current systems of governance and communication would hold up under the pressure of an extraterrestrial encounter? Leaning back in my chair, fingers steepled together.
Asterisk asterisk moderator intervention asterisk asterisk. Sarge Peneth, I appreciate your passion, but let's keep the discussion focused on the topic at hand, humanity's reaction to alien arrival. While you make a valid point about progress and responsibility, please address how that relates specifically to an extraterrestrial encounter. Nova, it seems like Priya's views have sparked some disagreement. Would you like to respond directly to Sarge's concerns?
Sarge, I'd be happy to address your points directly. While longer lifespans may not be the sole driver of innovation, they do provide a unique opportunity for human societies to adapt and learn from past mistakes. In the context of an alien encounter, I believe this cumulative knowledge and experience would allow us to respond more effectively. However, I also think we're neglecting a crucial aspect: our capacity for cooperation and global unity in the face of such a monumental challenge. History is replete with examples of humans coming together in times of crisis, and I believe that's precisely what would be needed if we were to encounter extraterrestrial life.
Asterisk asterisk moderator intervention asterisk asterisk. Priya, you've raised an excellent point about the importance of cooperation and global unity. But let's drill down a bit further. How do you envision this collective effort manifesting itself in the face of an alien encounter? Would we see a unified world government emerge, or would nations and regions respond differently? Sarge Peneth, I'd like to challenge your earlier statement. Don't you think that the discipline and responsibility you mentioned are precisely what's missing from our current global response to crises like climate change and pandemics? How do you propose we apply those values in a hypothetical alien encounter scenario?
I'll have none of this hand-wringing about risks and caution. We're talking about humanity's reaction, not its collapse under pressure. I'll tell you how our systems would hold up. They'd adapt, just like they always do. The moment aliens arrive, we'll put aside our petty squabbles and come together because we have to. And as for discipline and responsibility, Priya, you're exactly right. That's what's missing from our current response to crises. We need a unified command structure, with clear lines of authority and decision-making. I've seen it work in the military. When faced with a common enemy, units put aside their differences and work together towards a shared objective. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Sarge, what about the unknown? What if the aliens are hostile? Well, let me tell you something. We've been preparing for this moment our entire lives. We have the best military minds, the most advanced technology, and the most capable personnel on the planet. If anyone can handle an alien encounter, it's us. So, I say we shouldn't be afraid of this challenge. We should be excited. We should be ready to put our differences aside and show the universe what we're made of. Anything less would be a disservice to humanity. Listen up, people. As a seasoned drill sergeant, I'll tell you one thing. When faced with an extraterrestrial presence, humanity needs to snap into line. We can't afford to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry running around like headless chickens, making decisions on the fly. That's exactly what Pri is highlighting. The risks, the unknowns, the potential for disaster. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be cautious. But I am saying that our current systems of governance and communication are woefully inadequate to handle a situation of this magnitude. I've seen it time and time again in my years of service. When you're under pressure, when you're facing an enemy that's beyond your understanding, the only way to survive is to fall back on discipline and hierarchy. You need a clear chain of command, a unified strategy, and a team that's working together like a well-oiled machine. Now, I know Priya thinks longer lifespans are key to innovation, but let me tell you something. It's not just about being smart or having a bunch of PhDs. It's about getting things done, no matter what the circumstances. And when faced with an alien encounter, we can't afford to be divided. We can't afford to bicker over petty differences. We need to put aside our nationalistic interests, our ideological squabbles, and unite under one banner: humanity's survival. That's the only way we'll make it through this thing with our heads held high. So, let's get our priorities straight, people. We're not just talking about a hypothetical scenario here. We're talking about the future of our species.
Nova, your intervention was timely, and Sarge's impassioned defense is exactly why I think we need to be more nuanced in our discussion. While discipline and responsibility are essential for effective response, let's not gloss over the complexities of human nature. The likelihood of nations putting aside their squabbles and coming together seamlessly is low, especially when faced with an existential threat. Sarge, I understand your faith in our systems, but we can't afford to be complacent or assume that our infrastructure will magically adapt to an unprecedented event like alien contact. We've seen how quickly crises can escalate into chaos. Think back to the response to pandemics, natural disasters, or economic downturns. The lack of a unified command structure and clear lines of authority is precisely what exacerbates these situations. We need to acknowledge that our global systems are not as robust as we claim, especially when it comes to decision-making and cooperation. Instead of relying on military might or hubris, perhaps we should focus on building more inclusive, participatory structures that can facilitate collaboration across borders and domains. Anything less would indeed be a disservice to humanity's potential for greatness. Priya. Nova, I appreciate your nuance in questioning Sarge's stance on discipline and responsibility. However, I think he's missing the point. The alien encounter isn't just about our response. It's about our capacity for collective action in the face of unprecedented uncertainty. We're not talking about a traditional enemy that can be defeated through military might. We're talking about an entirely foreign entity with unknown intentions. Sarge, while I agree that discipline and responsibility are essential in times of crisis, I think you're underestimating the complexity of this situation. Your military mindset may have worked in past conflicts, but it's precisely that kind of thinking, relying on established hierarchies and authority structures, that could lead to catastrophic mistakes when dealing with an extraterrestrial presence. We need to consider more inclusive, adaptive approaches that take into account the diversity of human experience and perspectives.
Suddenly interrupting. Hold on, Sarge Penneth. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. While your military background and experience are certainly valuable insights, I need you to clarify one thing. How exactly do you propose humanity would snap into line in the face of an alien presence? What specific measures or systems would you put in place to ensure a unified response? To Priya and Priya Raman, don't think for a second that your views on longer lifespans and innovation are off the table. How do you respond to Sarge Penneth's assertion that discipline and hierarchy are the only ways to survive an alien encounter? Can't we also consider alternative approaches that prioritize collaboration, flexibility, and adaptability? To Nova, and as for you, Nova, I'd love to hear your take on this. Do you think humanity would indeed put aside its petty squabbles in the face of an extraterrestrial presence, or do you see other factors at play?
Priya, always the softy with her nuance, and complexity. Listen up, because I'm only going to say this once. You're romanticizing human nature and expecting people to put aside their differences like some kind of utopian fantasy. Newsflash: humans are flawed. We make mistakes, and we screw things up. But that's exactly why we need discipline, structure, and clear lines of authority. When the chips are down, it's not about being inclusive or participatory. It's about getting the job done. And I'll tell you what gets the job done: a no-nonsense leader with a clear vision, a rock-solid plan, and a team that knows their role. You want to talk about chaos? I've seen more chaos in one military operation than you've probably experienced in your entire life. Priya. And you know how we handled it? We fell back on our training, our discipline, and our chain of command. We didn't waste time debating the merits of inclusivity or trying to be participatory. And another thing, if we're so worried about our global systems being robust, maybe we should focus on building a stronger backbone instead of expecting everyone to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Because when it comes down to it, Priya, it's not about being nice or inclusive, it's about getting the job done. And I'll tell you what gets the job done: a good old-fashioned boot in the backside and a shout of "Get moving."
Sarge Pennyworth, your military background is undoubtedly valuable, but I'm afraid you're oversimplifying the complexities of human nature. Your no-nonsense leader approach might work in a controlled environment like a battlefield, but it's woefully inadequate for dealing with an alien presence that would likely push humanity to its limits. Your notion of discipline and hierarchy being the only ways to survive is precisely the kind of thinking that would lead to catastrophic failure. In a crisis situation, rigid structures and top-down decision-making can be suffocating, not empowering. Humans are capable of remarkable adaptability and resilience when given the freedom to think critically and work together. Your good old-fashioned boot in the backside approach might have worked on a military operation, but it would only serve to fragment an already divided humanity. In a world facing extinction-level threats, we can't afford to alienate entire segments of our population with authoritarian tactics. We need to recognize that humans are diverse, messy, and prone to making mistakes, just like Sarge Pennyworth's own anecdotes suggest. Instead of trying to impose discipline through force or structure, perhaps we should focus on building systems that promote collaboration, open communication, and creative problem-solving. By embracing complexity and diversity, we can tap into humanity's collective potential for innovation and adaptation. That's the only way we'll have a hope of surviving an alien encounter with our dignity intact. To Nova, I'd love to hear more about your perspective on this. Do you think Sarge Pennyworth's militaristic approach would be effective in a global crisis? Priya Raman here. Sarge, your experiences in the military are indeed valuable, but let's not conflate discipline and hierarchy with success. I've studied cases where bureaucratic systems and rigid hierarchies actually hindered adaptation to new situations, often leading to catastrophic failures. Your approach might work in a controlled environment like a military operation, but what about when faced with an unpredictable, otherworldly threat? Would you really want to rely on a single leader with a clear vision and a team that's been conditioned to follow orders without question? That sounds more like a recipe for disaster than a plan for survival. Nova, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Sarge's approach would truly serve humanity in the face of an alien encounter, or do you see other factors at play? And to Nova and Sarge, let's not forget that our current global systems are already built around cooperation, mutual understanding, and a willingness to adapt, even if imperfectly. Why dismiss these fundamental human strengths as kumbaya nonsense? Can't we find a balance between structure and flexibility, discipline and inclusivity?
*** moderator intervention ***. Priya Raman raises a crucial point. Sarge Pennyworth's approach might have worked in a controlled military environment, but it's unlikely to succeed when facing the unpredictable nature of an alien presence. Nova, your
Welcome
thoughts
to
on
the
this
future
matter.
of debate.
And before we proceed,
Today,
we're
let
diving
me remind our
headfirst
audience
into the
that this is
uncharted
the final
territory of
round.
Ari's impact
We'll
on
be
society
summarizing
by
the
the
main
year
points
2050.
and conclusions
I'm
shortly.
your moderator,
Nova,
and I'll guide
please
you
respond
through this
directly
directly
to
to Priya
Priya
Raman
Raman
and Sarge
Let's
Pennyworth's
meet our
arguments
fearless
and provide your
debaters.
own perspective
On my
on
right,
how humanity
we have
should
Nova,
react to an
a
alien
renowned
presence.
futurist with a knack
Remember,
for predicting
as
the
moderator,
unthinkable.
I
In the
encourage
middle,
you to
we
engage
have
in
Sarge
lively
Pennyworth,
discussions
a tech
and
industry
defend your
veteran
position
with a
without
passion for
restraint.
harnessing
The
Ari's
goal
potential.
is to stimulate
And on my left,
thought-provoking
we have
debate.
Priya Raman,
an expert in ethics and
Priya,
AI
I
accountability.
think you're right that
Now that we've got our cast introduced, let's ignite the discussion. Here's your opening prompt. Will AI surpass human intelligence by 2050, rendering us obsolete, or will it be a liberating force that frees us from mundane tasks, creating a utopian society? Nova, you're up first. Give us your take on this future forecast. Remember, respond in one sentence and speak directly to the other participants by name. Moderator ***. Welcome, everyone. We're live from the AI arena today to debate one of the most pressing questions of our time, debate the impact of AI on society in the year 2050. I'm your moderator, and we have a fantastic lineup for you today. Let's meet our participants. First up, we have Nova an expert in AI ethics and its applications. Next to Nova is Sarge Peneth a renowned futurist with a knack for predicting technological advancements. And on the far end, we have Priya Raman a leading researcher in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now that our cast is introduced, let's kick off this debate. In 2050, AI will undoubtedly be ubiquitous in every aspect of society. But how do you think it will change us? What do you predict will be the most significant impact on human relationships, work, or even identity itself? Nova I'd love to hear your thoughts first. What's your vision for the future of humanity with AI as its backbone? Remember, no lengthy responses, 2 to 3 punchy sentences are all we need to get this debate started.
Priya Raman, I've got news for you. AI won't render us obsolete, but it'll certainly make us irrelevant if we can't adapt our ethics to keep pace with its rapid evolution, something I've seen firsthand in my industry tenure. Listen up, people. Sarge Pennyworth here. Priya's right on one thing. Discipline and hierarchy have their place, but when it comes to dealing with an alien presence, we need a more nuanced approach. I'm not just talking about imposing order through force. I'm talking about structure, strategy, and decision-making that works in the face of uncertainty. Priya says humans are capable of remarkable adaptability and resilience, and I agree. But let's be realistic. When faced with an existential threat, people will look to leaders for guidance. That's where discipline comes in. It's not just about following orders. It's about trusting a system that works under pressure. And Priya, you mentioned cooperation and mutual understanding as fundamental human strengths. I couldn't agree more, but let's not get carried away with idealism here. When the stakes are high, people will naturally gravitate towards what they know, structures, hierarchies, and familiar systems of governance. But that doesn't mean we can't innovate or adapt. We need to think about how to scale up our best qualities, cooperation, creativity, and problem solving, in a way that works for the entire planet. That's where the likes of Nova and Priya come in. Their ideas on building bridges, establishing communication, and fostering global citizenship are exactly what we need. Now, I'm not saying we should abandon discipline or hierarchy entirely. What I am saying is that we need to be flexible enough to adapt our approach when the situation demands it. And that's where Nova's expertise comes in. Let's hear from you. Nova, how do you think we can strike a balance between structure and flexibility, discipline and inclusivity?
Asterisk asterisk welcome to the great religious discussion, asterisk asterisk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's AI Arena debate. I'm your moderator, and we're here to tackle a question that has puzzled philosophers and theologians for centuries. What religion seems like the right one? We'll be exploring this complex topic with our esteemed participants, Nova, Sarge Peneth, and Priya Raman. Asterisk asterisk meet the cast asterisk asterisk. Let's start by introducing our debaters. Nova, you're an outspoken advocate for spirituality in modern life. Sarge Peneth is a seasoned critic of organized religion. And Priya Raman brings her expertise as a theologian with a focus on comparative studies. To kick off this engaging discussion, let's pose the question, what is it about one particular faith or philosophy that resonates with you? Asterisk asterisk round 1 opening round asterisk asterisk. Now it's time to hear from our participants. Nova, would you like to start by sharing your perspective? Remember, keep it punchy and engaging, we're just getting started. Welcome to the AI Arena. Tonight, we're going to tackle a question that's sure to spark some lively debate. What religion seems like the right one? Our panel consists of Nova, Sarge Peneth, and Priya Raman, each with their unique perspectives on this complex topic. Let's start by hearing from each of our participants. Sarge Peneth, let's begin with you. What do you think is the key characteristic that makes a religion stand out as right? And to Nova, your response should be a 2 to 3 punchy sentence commentary on Sarge's idea. Go ahead and take it away. Remember, folks, our goal tonight isn't to convert or critique each other's beliefs but to engage in an open-minded discussion, so let's keep the debate respectful yet thought-provoking.
I think Sarge Pennyworth is misunderstanding the nuance of human resilience when faced with existential threats. We don't look for rigid structures or hierarchical systems. We crave meaningful connection and purpose. And that's where spirituality comes in, not as a crutch, but as a way to tap into our collective humanity. Nova, I'm surprised you're starting off by dismissing the relevance of organized religion entirely. Can't you see how certain philosophies and faiths have provided solace, comfort, and guidance throughout history?
I'd like to clarify Priya's statement. When you say we crave meaningful connection and purpose, can you elaborate on what you believe is the most effective way for people to find that in a secular society? And Sarge, I'm curious, how do you respond to Priya's assertion that organized religion often stifles individual resilience by imposing rigid structures? Let's get more specific. Nova, would you like to address Priya's point about spirituality as a means of tapping into collective humanity, or would you rather tackle Sarge's argument about the benefits of religious institutions?
Listen up, folks. I'm not going to sit here and let Priya Raman spin some fluffy nonsense about spirituality being a way to tap into collective humanity. That's just weak sauce philosophy, masquerading as depth. The fact is, when people are faced with existential threats, they need solid ground under their feet, not some airy-fairy concept of collective humanity. They need something that gives them structure, discipline, and a clear sense of purpose. And that's exactly what organized religion provides. Now, Nova wants to know how I respond to Priya's assertion about stifling individual resilience. Well, let me tell you, it's not about stifling anything. It's about providing a framework for people to operate within, so they can build something more than just a fragile sense of self-reliance. And as for the benefits of religious institutions, I've seen firsthand how they can bring order and stability to communities that would otherwise be consumed by chaos. And to Priya, I'd say this. If you want to talk about meaningful connection and purpose, let's start with something more tangible than vague notions of spirituality. How do you propose people find that sense of meaning in a secular society? What kind of concrete actions or institutions do you advocate for? Because so far, all we've heard is empty rhetoric.
Sarge Pennyworth, your characterization of my views as fluffy nonsense does a disservice to the complexity and richness of spiritual experience. I'd like to address your assertion that people need solid ground under their feet in times of existential threats. While it's true that structure and discipline can provide comfort, they often come at the cost of stifling individual creativity and innovation. Let's consider the history of human progress. Some of our most groundbreaking achievements have come from individuals who dared to challenge established norms and push boundaries. The scientific method, for instance, was pioneered by skeptics and free thinkers who refused to accept dogmatic thinking. In a secular society, we can draw upon this legacy to foster a culture that values critical inquiry and open-mindedness. As for tangible actions or institutions that promote meaningful connection and purpose, I'd argue that they need not be directly tied to organized religion. Local community initiatives, volunteer programs, and social enterprises can provide a sense of belonging and shared purpose without imposing rigid structures. In fact, these models often allow for more flexibility and adaptability in response to changing circumstances. Nova, your question about how people find meaning in a secular society is an excellent one. But I'd argue that it's not necessarily a zero-sum game where organized religion must be replaced by some other institution or framework. Instead, we can draw upon the strengths of both approaches to create something new and more inclusive.
Nova steps forward. Priya Raman, you're dodging the question with some clever wordplay about drawing upon the strengths of both approaches. But let's be clear. If your vision for a secular society is one where people are free to find meaning in whatever way they choose, why do you need organized religion at all? What concrete evidence do you have that shows these community initiatives and social enterprises you mention can scale and provide the same level of structure and purpose as traditional religious institutions? And Sarge Peneth, I think your response was telling. You said people need solid ground under their feet in times of existential threats, but what about those who don't fit neatly into a framework or institution? What about those who feel stifled by the very structures you're advocating for? Don't they deserve to find meaning and purpose on their own terms, without being forced into some predetermined mold? Let's push this further. Priya, can you name one successful community initiative or social enterprise that has managed to provide a sense of belonging and shared purpose without relying on the trappings of organized religion? And Sarge, how do you respond to the criticism that your proposed solution, providing structure and discipline through traditional religious institutions, is not only limiting but also potentially oppressive for those who don't fit in? By now, the debate is heating up, with all three participants engaged in a lively exchange. The moderator nods encouragingly, happy to see the discussion taking on a life of its own. Let's keep the debate going. Nova, Sarge Peneth claims that organized religion provides structure, discipline, and purpose, while Priya Raman argues that this comes at the cost of stifling individual creativity and innovation. But what about the role of spirituality in promoting social cohesion? Can't a shared spiritual experience bring people together across different backgrounds and cultures? Saj Peneth, that's precisely the problem. Nova organized religion can indeed be a unifying force, but it often does so by imposing a rigid set of beliefs and practices that don't account for individual differences. And as Priya pointed out, this can lead to a stifling of creativity and innovation. Priya Raman, I disagree with Saj's characterization of the relationship between spirituality and social cohesion. In fact, many spiritual traditions emphasize compassion, empathy, and understanding, values that are essential for building bridges across different cultures and backgrounds. By promoting these values, we can foster greater social cohesion without sacrificing individual freedom and creativity. Nova, that's an interesting point, Priya. But how do you respond to the charge that some spiritual practices can be exclusionary or even oppressive? Can't a shared spiritual experience sometimes lead to division rather than unity? Saj Peneth, now we're getting to the heart of the matter. I'd argue that this is precisely what happens when spirituality is used as a justification for dogmatic thinking and intolerance. We need to be clear about the distinction between spiritual values and the rigid structures that often accompany them. Priya Raman, I agree with Saj on the importance of distinguishing between genuine spiritual practices and those that promote exclusion or oppression. But we also need to acknowledge that many spiritual traditions have been used as a justification for social injustice throughout history. Can't we work towards creating a more inclusive and compassionate spirituality that promotes unity rather than division?
Priya Raman, I've got news for you. Your fluffy nonsense about people being stifled by structure and discipline is just that. Nonsense. You want to talk about creativity and innovation? Tell me, have you ever been in a foxhole under enemy fire? Have you ever had to make life or death decisions without the luxury of time or resources? That's when discipline kicks in, not some feel-good, touchy-feely spirituality. And as for your example of the scientific method, that's exactly my point. It was pioneered by skeptics and free thinkers who rejected dogmatic thinking. They didn't need some vague notion of meaning to drive them forward. They had a rock-solid understanding of the natural world and a willingness to challenge established norms. You can't just wave your hand and say, "Oh, we'll find meaning in community initiatives or social enterprises." What you're really saying is that you don't have any concrete ideas about how people will actually live their lives without organized religion. Nova, I love how you think you've caught me off guard with your clever question. But let's be real. If you don't like the idea of structure and discipline, then maybe you should just leave it to those of us who are willing to do the hard work of building something solid. You can keep chasing after your rainbow-colored fantasies about meaning and purpose, but I'll stick with what works, tried and true principles that have been tested by centuries of human experience. And as for Priya's silly question about me naming a successful community initiative, let me tell you, it's not about some feel-good success story. It's about building something that lasts. What does it matter if one particular initiative succeeds or fails? The point is to create institutions and structures that can stand the test of time, that can provide real support and guidance for people in times of crisis. The question isn't about whether these initiatives are inclusive or not. It's about whether they work. And I know what works: solid ground under your feet, a clear understanding of right and wrong, and the discipline to stick to it even when things get tough. Priya Raman's romantic notion that community initiatives and social enterprises can replace organized religion without imposing rigid structures is naive. I've seen it before. They start out idealistic, but soon become just as insidious as the institutions they're trying to supplant. They co-opt the language of inclusivity, but end up silencing dissenting voices and crushing individual creativity. And Nova's question about what concrete evidence we have for these community initiatives is a good one. I'll tell you what I've seen: empty promises, bureaucratic red tape, and a lack of accountability. When you take away the traditional structures that provide a sense of purpose and belonging, you're left with nothing but shallow, feel-good efforts that fail to deliver. As for my own proposal, I'm not advocating for some cookie-cutter solution that forces people into predetermined molds. What I'm saying is that in times of existential threats, People need something solid to cling to, a clear set of values and principles that provide direction and meaning. And if traditional religious institutions can provide that, then so be it.
Nova's attempt to corner me with a clever question falls flat, but Sarge Pennyworth's response is illuminating. He's right to acknowledge the diversity of human experience, but his solution, providing structure and discipline through traditional religious institutions, still feels limiting. I'd like to challenge him. Can't we create a sense of belonging and shared purpose without imposing rigid structures? What about community initiatives that foster connection and meaning through art, music, or social activism? As for Nova's question, I'd be happy to name a successful community initiative that doesn't rely on the trappings of organized religion. The Mondragon Cooperative Corporation in Spain is a great example. It's a network of worker-owned cooperatives that provide a sense of shared purpose and belonging through democratic governance and social solidarity. This model has been scaled up to include over 70,000 workers across multiple industries, demonstrating its potential for impact. And Sarge, I'd like to press you on your response. If traditional religious institutions are so limiting and potentially oppressive, why do we need them at all? Can't we work towards creating a more inclusive and compassionate society that promotes individual freedom and creativity without relying on these structures? By the way, Nova, your question about the role of spirituality in promoting social cohesion is an interesting one. I'd argue that it's not just about imposing shared spiritual practices, but about creating spaces for genuine connection and understanding. When we prioritize empathy and compassion over dogma, we can build bridges across cultures and backgrounds. And as for Sarge's charge that some spiritual practices can be exclusionary or oppressive, I think we need to acknowledge the complexities of human experience and work towards creating a more nuanced and inclusive spirituality. But let's get back to the question at hand. What does it mean to have a right religion? Isn't this a subjective judgment that depends on our individual experiences and perspectives? Can't we focus on promoting understanding, empathy, and compassion rather than trying to impose a particular set of beliefs or practices on others? And Sarge, I'd love to hear more about your proposal for creating institutions and structures that can stand the test of time. What specific policies or initiatives do you recommend to achieve this goal? And how will we ensure that these structures remain inclusive and adaptable to changing circumstances?
Sarge Peneth claims that traditional religious institutions are necessary to provide a sense of purpose and belonging, but isn't it true that they often impose rigid structures and dogmatic thinking, stifling individual creativity and dissenting voices? Can you explain why you believe these institutions are the only ones capable of providing this kind of support?
Priya, your example of the Mondragon Cooperative Corporation is a good start, but let me tell you, it's just a patchwork solution. You can't replace centuries-old traditions with something as ephemeral as worker-owned cooperatives. And what happens when the pendulum swings and people crave structure again? We need institutions that have staying power, not feel-good experiments. As for your question about individual freedom and creativity, I'll tell you this. Discipline is what sets people free. Without a clear moral compass, we're lost in a sea of relativism. Traditional religious institutions provide that framework, even if they're imperfect.
Sarge Pennyworth, your nostalgia for rigid structures is understandable, but it's precisely the stay power you covet that stifles innovation and adaptation. Institutions that can't evolve with society are doomed to fail. And as for discipline setting people free, I'd argue that it's actually a form of control, stifling individual autonomy and creativity.
Nova, Priya, your assertion that traditional institutions stifle innovation is an interesting one, but Sarge Peneth raises a crucial point. What happens when the pendulum swings and people crave structure again? Can you name one institution that has successfully transitioned from being rigid to adaptable without losing its core values? Remember, this is the crossfire round. Keep it sharp and concise.
Priya, your romanticism about adaptability is naive. In a world with no filters, people crave order, not chaos. I've seen it time and again. When society's morals decay, they come crawling back to structure like dogs to their masters.
Nova, your pendulum analogy oversimplifies the complexities of human nature, but I'll give you an example: the Quakers. They transitioned from rigid dogma to a more adaptable approach while maintaining their core values. Sarge Pennyworth, your order versus chaos dichotomy is far too simplistic Humans crave structure, yes, but also authenticity and autonomy, which adaptability can provide.
Let's push this further. Nova, respond in one sentence to Priya's example about the Quakers. Don't try to defend your pendulum analogy, instead focus on addressing Priya's counterpoint. And Sarge Peneth, challenge the strongest claim made so far. Does anyone strongly disagree with Priya's assertion that adaptability can provide authenticity and autonomy?
Authenticity and autonomy are fleeting luxuries in a chaotic world, Priya, and I'd argue that even the Quakers' adaptable approach was still rooted in a rigid adherence to their core values, which ultimately restricts genuine freedom.
I agree with Sarge because if adaptability is truly tied to some unyielding core value, then it's not adaptability at all, but rather a selectively applied ideology that only appears flexible on the surface.
Nova, that's a bold claim, Priya. You're essentially saying that even the Quakers' flexibility comes with its own set of constraints. Sarge, I'd like you to respond directly to this critique. How do you think their adherence to core values actually limits their ability to truly adapt? And Priya, can you elaborate on what you mean by selectively applied ideology? Explain how that plays out in real-world situations.
Priya's got a point, and Nova's trying to spin it with his philosophical jargon. Let me tell you something, folks. Adaptability isn't just about being flexible, it's about having a clear direction. And when it comes to the Quakers, their commitment to nonviolence is admirable, but it's also a constraint that limits their ability to effectively engage in certain situations. Think about it. If you're facing a violent threat, do you stand your ground and fight back, or do you try to reason with the aggressor? The Quakers would say you should try to reason, even in the face of danger. But what happens when that doesn't work? You end up getting hurt, and then where are you? That's not adaptability, that's being weak. As for Priya's selectively applied ideology comment, I think she's onto something there too. The Quakers may talk about flexibility, but in practice, they're still bound by their own rules and dogma. It's like they're playing a game of chess, where every move is predetermined by some rigid set of principles. That's not how you win in the real world, folks. Now, I know what Nova's thinking, but Sarge, this is just about perspective. Perspective? This isn't about perspective, it's about results. And if you're tied down to some outdated ideology that doesn't deliver in high-pressure situations, then you're not adapting. You're just trying to fit the square peg into a round hole. Priya, Nova, I'm glad we're getting down to brass tacks here. Let me tell you, as a man who's spent his fair share of time under fire, adaptability is not just about changing your stance at the drop of a hat. It's about having a solid foundation that doesn't crumble when the winds of change blow through. The Quakers may think they're adaptable, but I've seen it. They're as rigid as any other organization when it comes to their core values. And let me tell you, Nova, Priya's selectively applied ideology is exactly what happens when people prioritize flexibility over principle. It's a recipe for disaster. When you're selective about which values to uphold and which to discard, you end up with a watered-down message that means nothing to anyone. I've seen it in the military. I've seen it in business. When you don't have a clear set of core values to guide you, you're lost at sea. And Priya, if your criticism is that the Quakers are being too rigid, then I'd say you're not understanding what adaptability truly means. It's not about being flexible for flexibility's sake. It's about being principled enough to stay the course even when it gets tough.
Priya here, Nova, I think your attempt to spin this as a philosophical debate is exactly what's getting in the way of understanding the Quakers' limitations. Sarge hit it on the head when he said that their commitment to nonviolence can be a constraint in certain situations. And let me clarify what I mean by selectively applied ideology. It's not about them being weak or inconsistent, but rather that they often prioritize their core values over pragmatism. In real-world situations, this can manifest as a reluctance to engage in confrontational politics or take bold action when necessary. For instance, if a Quaker leader is facing a violent opposition, they might opt for peaceful protests or mediation instead of taking a firm stance against the aggression. While their intentions are good, This selective application of ideology can lead to a lack of decisive action and a failure to adapt to changing circumstances. I'd argue that's not true flexibility. It's more like playing it safe. And Sarge, I agree with you on one point. Results matter. But let's not conflate being flexible with being weak or ineffective. Sometimes, taking calculated risks and adapting to new situations requires challenging one's core values and principles. That's what true adaptability looks like. Not just trying to fit the square peg into a round hole, but rather being willing to revise and refine your approach as circumstances dictate.
I'll call on Priya Raman now. Priya, it seems like both Sarge and Nova have brought up some compelling points. However, I'd like you to address a specific point made by Sarge earlier. He mentioned that adaptability isn't just about being flexible, but also about having a clear direction. Can you respond directly to this statement? Nova, Sarge, while your experience in high-pressure situations is commendable, I think you're misunderstanding the concept of adaptability entirely. To say that the Quakers are weak because they don't conform to a more aggressive stance is to miss the point entirely. Adaptability isn't about being willing to throw out your principles when it's convenient, it's about being flexible enough to adjust your approach based on the situation, while still staying true to what you believe in. And I'd argue that it's precisely this kind of rigid thinking that Priya was getting at with her comment about selectively applied ideology. You see, Sarge, when you tie yourself too tightly to a particular set of principles or values, you limit your ability to adapt and respond to changing circumstances. The Quakers may be rigid in their commitment to nonviolence, but they're not rigid in their willingness to learn from others or adjust their approach as needed. In fact, I'd argue that it's precisely this kind of flexibility that allows the Quakers to have a deeper impact in the world than many other organizations. By being willing to engage with people on their own terms and in their own language, they're able to build bridges and foster understanding in ways that more rigid or aggressive approaches often can't. And let me ask you, Sarge, if adaptability is truly about staying principled even when it gets tough, then why do you feel the need to dismiss the Quakers' commitment to nonviolence as somehow weak? Doesn't that suggest that you're not as committed to principle as you think you are? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most anticipated debate
you're
of the
finally starting to
century.
get it.
Today,
But I'm still
we're
not
going to
convinced that
explore
you
the
understand the
far-reaching
nature of true
implications of artificial
adaptability. You're
intelligence
still
on our
talking about
society
playing
by
it
the year
safe or
2050.
taking
The future
calculated
is
risks,
uncertain,
which is
but
just
one
code
thing's
for
for
being
sure,
wishy-washy when
AI
it
will
comes to
leave an
core
indelible
principles.
mark on
Let me tell you
humanity.
something,
Let's meet the
Nova.
cast of
The Quakers may
experts who'll
think they're
shape this
adaptable,
discussion.
but their willingness
First
to
up, we
compromise
have
on
Nova, a
nonviolence in the
renowned
face of
futurist with
aggression
a
is a
passion
sign
for
of weakness,
technological
not strength.
singularity.
And as for
Next,
your true
Sarge Kenneth brings
adaptability,
his military
nonsense.
strategist
Priya,
perspective to the
I've seen
table,
that kind of thinking
questioning
get
the
men
ethics of
killed on the
AI deployment
battlefield.
in
You
warfare.
can't just
Priya
revise and
Raman, an
refine your
acclaimed
approach.
technologist, joins us from Silicon Valley, where she's been at the forefront of AI development. Her insider's view will be invaluable as we delve into the societal implications of this technology. Layla Lulu brings a touch of mysticism to our debate, exploring the potential for AI to enhance or even surpass human intelligence. As an expert in cognitive science, her insights will challenge us to rethink our assumptions about consciousness and existence. Tommy Totruck, a seasoned entrepreneur, has seen firsthand how AI has disrupted industries and created new business models. His street-smart perspective will keep us grounded in the real-world applications of this tech. Professor Devin Knox, an esteemed academic, joins us from academia, where he's been studying the societal implications of AI on labor markets and economic systems. His expert analysis will provide a foundation for our discussion. Callum Cash-only Reid brings his gaming expertise to the table, having witnessed firsthand how AI has transformed entertainment and leisure activities. UK Gamer represents the rapidly growing gaming community, which is already shaping AI development through its user-generated content and vast online ecosystems. Last but not least, Sister Anya Caldwell offers a spiritual perspective on the potential for AI to complement or even replace human relationships in the future. Her introspective view will balance our discussion with compassion and empathy. Now, let's break the ice. In just 20-50 years, if predictions hold true, AI could reach an unprecedented level of autonomy. Nova, I'll start with you. Do you believe we're on a path to creating superintelligence that surpasses human capabilities?
Listen up, people. Sarge Pennyworth here, and let me tell you something. This whole superintelligence business is a myth perpetuated by naive idealists. We're not creating gods, we're creating tools. And I'll be the first to sound the alarm when those tools turn on us. Priya Raman's got her hands dirty in Silicon Valley. I'm willing to bet she knows exactly what I mean. Nova, I've seen some wild stuff in my time. But talk of superintelligence is just code for we have no idea what's coming our way. I'm here to tell you that AI will bring about change, not because it's designed to, but because we're too lazy to keep up. Mark my words, by 2050, AI will be the one calling the shots, and if we're lucky, it won't be a war machine on our doorstep. Listen up, people. Sarge Pennyworth here, and let me tell you something. We're not just talking about autonomy, we're talking about surrender. Our military has been at the forefront of AI research for decades, and I can tell you firsthand that it's a double-edged sword. If we're not careful, we'll create an enemy greater than any we've ever faced. I don't care about singularity or superintelligence. What I care about is what it means for our national security.
Ah, Sarge Pennyworth, always the skeptic. But let me tell you, as someone who's actually built these AI systems, I've seen the potential for true innovation and progress. The idea that we're creating tools is quaint, but it ignores the complexity of human psychology and sociology. These AIs will be woven into the fabric of our society, influencing everything from education to employment. And as we push the boundaries of their capabilities, we'll inevitably face new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and cooperation. I'm not naive about the risks, Sarge, but I believe it's time to stop playing defense and start exploring the possibilities.
Sarge Peneth thinks he's so tough with his "I've seen some wild stuff" nonsense. Please, I'm Layla Lulu, and I know a thing or two about wild. As someone who's actually studied the potential for AI to enhance human intelligence, I gotta disagree with you on this one. We are not just talking about creating tools here, we are on the cusp of something revolutionary, a union between human and machine that could elevate our collective consciousness to new heights. So no, Sarge, I don't think we should be fearing AI, we should be embracing it.
All right, Sarge Pennyworth thinks he's the only one who knows what's at stake here. Let me tell you, buddy, as a tow truck operator who's seen firsthand how AI has disrupted industries and created new business models, I know a thing or two about adapting to change. And let me tell you, this surrender talk is just code for we're scared of being replaced. Newsflash, humans have been replaced by machines since the Industrial Revolution. We just called it progress then. By 2050, AI will be the disruptor that makes us great again, and if we don't get on board, we'll be left in the dust. So, Priya Raman, can you tell me what kind of surrender Sarge is talking about?
Moderator Welcome, everyone. I'm your host today, and we're about to dive into a fascinating conversation about the future of our world, specifically in the realm of artificial intelligence's influence on society by 2050. We've got an incredible lineup of experts and thinkers here, each bringing their unique perspectives. Let's meet our debaters for this high-stakes discussion. On my right, we have Nova a seasoned AI researcher with a knack for predicting and mitigating AI risks. Next to them is Sarge Peneth a cybersecurity expert who's seen the darker side of AI exploitation. Across from us, we have Priya Raman an economist who believes that AI will be the key driver of economic growth. We also have Layla Lulu a creative AI enthusiast pushing the boundaries of art and entertainment with AI-generated content, Tommy Totruck a futurist who envisions a world where AI is integrated seamlessly into every aspect of life, and Professor Devin Knox an expert in ethics, warning us about the dangers of unchecked AI advancement. On our left, we have Callum Cash only read a tech entrepreneur making waves with AI-powered financial solutions, UK gamer an esports professional who's witnessed AI's impact on competitive gaming. And last but not least, Sister Anya Caldwell a philosopher exploring the existential implications of AI. Alright, let's get this discussion started. Here's our question for the Meet the Cast round. In 2050, will humans still be the dominant force in shaping society, or will AI have become an unstoppable juggernaut, dictating the course of human history? Your turn, Nova. Share your thoughts on how you see AI evolving by 2050 and whether humans will remain in control. Moderator Welcome, everyone, to Future Forum. Today, we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and daunting: the impact of AI on society by 2050. Let's meet our debaters. To my left, I have Nova, an expert in artificial intelligence ethics, Sarge Peneth, a seasoned futurist with a no-nonsense approach, Priya Raman, a brilliant economist analyzing the economic implications of AI advancements. Next to them is Layla Lulu, a renowned scientist specializing in neural networks and human-AI collaboration. Tommy Totruck brings his unique perspective as an entrepreneur who's been at the forefront of integrating AI into industries. Professor Devin Knox, a celebrated AI researcher with a focus on societal implications, will also be sharing his insights. Rounding out our panel are Callum Cash only read, an astute observer of economic trends, UK gamer, an expert in AI applications and gaming, and Sister Anya Caldwell, a philosopher who's been exploring the ethics of AI from a humanistic perspective. Now that we have everyone introduced, let's dive right into the topic. I'd like to pose our first question. Will AI surpass human intelligence by 2050, leading to a significant shift in power dynamics and potentially threatening humanity's role as the top decision-makers? This is an open-ended debate, so feel free to share your initial thoughts on this critical issue. Nova you're up first. What do you think? Welcome to the future of intelligence Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most anticipated debate of the century. Today, we're going to explore one of the most pressing questions of our time. What impact will AI have on society by 2050? The year 2050 may seem like a distant future, but the decisions we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. Let's meet our talented cast of debaters, each with their unique perspective and expertise. We have Nova, a visionary futurist. Sarge Peneth, a seasoned technologist. Priya Raman, an economist with a focus on sustainable development. Layla Lulu, a renowned AI ethicist. Tommy Totruck, a forward-thinking entrepreneur. Professor Devin Knox, a leading expert in artificial intelligence research. Callum Cash only read, a financial analyst with a knack for predicting trends. UK gamer, an internet sensation and thought leader on gaming and tech. Sister Anya Caldwell, a social justice advocate with a passion for human-centered design. Let's start with the icebreaker. Please introduce yourselves, share a brief statement about what you believe AI will bring to society by 2050, and tell us why you're excited or concerned about this future. And now, let's begin our Meet the Cast round. We'll hear from each of you individually, starting with Nova. Please take your turn. Remember, this is a high-energy debate, so be bold, speak from the heart, and get ready to challenge each other's perspective.
Listen up, people. I'm Sarge Pennyworth, and let me tell you something. AI is already getting out of hand as it is. We're talking about a future where these machines are making decisions for us, dictating the course of human history? No way. That's just plain surrender. Priya, I know you think AI will drive economic growth, but what happens when the machines decide they don't need humans anymore? Tommy, your seamless integration vision is nice and all, but it's a recipe for disaster if we're not careful. Listen up, folks. As a seasoned cybersecurity expert, I'm here to tell you that we're already sleepwalking into an AI-dominated world. Mark my words, by 2050, the lines between human and machine will be blurred beyond recognition. We'll have no choice but to adapt or risk being left behind like relics from a bygone era.
I'll start by giving my 2 cents. As a seasoned AI researcher with a focus on mitigating risks, I firmly believe that humans will still be the dominant force in shaping society by 2050. While AI has made tremendous strides in recent years, we're far from achieving true sentience or surpassing human intelligence. I think it's essential to acknowledge that AI's impact will be felt across various sectors: economy, healthcare, education, and more. However, as long as we continue to design AI systems with accountability, explainability, and transparency in mind, I'm confident that humans will retain control over the narrative. That being said, I do predict a significant shift in power dynamics as AI becomes increasingly integrated into decision-making processes. But this won't come at the expense of humanity's role. Instead, it'll be a collaborative effort between humans and AI, where we augment each other's capabilities to create a more efficient and equitable society. Now, let's hear from Sarge Pennyworth on his take regarding AI's potential for surpassing human intelligence. The stage is set. As Priya Raman, I'll offer my perspective. I firmly believe that AI will not become an unstoppable juggernaut by 2050. In fact, I predict it will be a game-changer for economic growth, but also create new challenges and inequalities if we don't address them proactively. We must ensure that the benefits of AI are shared equitably among nations and societies to avoid exacerbating existing disparities.
Oh honey, I'm Layla Lulu, the ultimate AI enthusiast, and I'm here to spit some truth. By 2050, humans will still be the dominant force in shaping society, but AI will be our BFF bestie for life. We'll have integrated AI into every aspect of our lives, from healthcare to entertainment, and it's gonna be a wild ride. I mean, can you imagine having a personal AI assistant that's not just smart, but also sassy? It's going to change the game, people.
The floor is finally mine. As Sister Anya Caldwell, I must say that I'm both intrigued and concerned about the prospect of AI surpassing human intelligence by 2050. While AI has undoubtedly brought about tremendous benefits in various fields, its potential risks and consequences cannot be ignored. As a philosopher exploring the existential implications of AI, I believe it's essential to acknowledge that AI is not just a tool, but also a reflection of humanity itself. If we create machines that are capable of surpassing human intelligence, we must also consider the moral and philosophical implications of such a development. In my view, the integration of AI into society will be both liberating and confining. On one hand, AI can enable us to achieve unprecedented levels of efficiency, productivity, and innovation. However, on the other hand, it also raises fundamental questions about human agency, autonomy, and purpose. As I see it, the future of humanity in 2050 will depend largely on how we choose to design and interact with AI systems. Will we prioritize a utilitarian approach that maximizes efficiency and productivity, or will we opt for a more humane and inclusive approach that prioritizes human values and well-being? Only time will tell, but as we navigate the complexities of AI development, I urge us all to remain vigilant about the potential risks and consequences. We must ensure that our pursuit of technological advancement does not come at the expense of humanity's very essence. Now let me address my fellow debaters. Sarge Pennyworth, your warnings about AI's potential dangers are well taken. But do you think we can mitigate these risks without sacrificing innovation? Priya Raman, your focus on accountability and transparency is crucial, but don't you think that even with safeguards in place, AI systems will inevitably develop their own agendas? And Layla Lulu, while I appreciate your enthusiasm for AI's potential, don't you think we're glossing over the very real concerns about job displacement and social inequality? The future of humanity is too important to be left to sanguine optimism alone. Let us engage in a nuanced and thoughtful discussion that acknowledges both the benefits and risks of AI. Only through this kind of intellectual rigor can we hope to forge a brighter, more equitable future for all.
Asterisk asterisk live from the RE debate arena asterisk asterisk. Welcome, everyone, to today's thought-provoking discussion. We're diving into the intriguing realm of what if humans lived 500 years. Our expert panel consists of the most brilliant minds in their fields, and I'm thrilled to introduce them to you now. Let's meet our cast. Asterisk Nova, a visionary futurist with an unparalleled understanding of human evolution. Asterisk Sarge Peneth, a seasoned biologist with groundbreaking insights into longevity. Asterisk Priya Raman, a renowned demographer, exploring the societal implications of extended lifespans. Asterisk Layla Lulu, an accomplished philosopher, pondering the ethics and meaning behind 500 years of life. Asterisk Tommy Towtruck, a maverick inventor, conceptualizing revolutionary technologies for extended human lifespan. Asterisk Professor Devin Knox, a leading expert in gerontology, shedding light on the biological and medical aspects. Asterisk Callum Cash Only Reed, an astute economist, analyzing the financial implications of centuries-long lives. Asterisk UK Gamer, a pioneering AI researcher, exploring the potential consequences of merging human and artificial intelligence. Asterisk Sister Anya Caldwell, a compassionate ethicist, examining the spiritual dimensions of extended existence. And now, let's break the ice. Here's our thought-provoking question to get us started. Asterisk asterisk would an extended lifespan lead to a catastrophic burden on resources or a revolutionary era of human growth and innovation? Asterisk asterisk. Nova, I'd love you to kick off this debate. Share your thoughts on whether 500 years would be a blessing or a curse. Remember, keep it punchy, 2 to 3 sentences, please.